Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are over at the cut table and we are working on the next block for the Dear Jane quilt. I have got a couple of fabrics picked out for this next block. I've got some background fabrics, I've got some colored fabrics, and they're actually, the background and the color fabrics are going to flip-flop for this block. It is A6 Dad's Plaid, and on one of the squares this is the background and this is the applique piece, and on the other squares this one is the applique piece and this is the background. So it kind of flip-flops, but it'll make a little bit more sense once we get into it. I'm gonna get these cut, and these ones are gonna start out where the squares are both, all four of them are gonna be the same size. Okay, so we've got them all cut out. We've got our background, we've got our applique piece, and now we just have to get them, which ones we want to have applique on and which ones we want to have be the squared piece. And since mine's scrappy, I've got a lot of scrappy color here and I've only got two of here. So we know we're going to have two of these as the background and two of these will be the applique piece. Alright, so I've got these guys separated into the piles that I would like them to be separated in. I've got my applique pieces and my background pieces. My background pieces can just set off to the side. And then for my applique pieces, so I've pre-cut my shapes, which are kind of like the orange peel shapes. So what I have to do is I'm going to iron these on to the back side of my pieces, leaving 1/4 of an inch on the sides here, just so that I can make sure that I have enough space in order to get them adhered and have enough seam allowance in the back. So I'm just going to go get these ironed on to the back and I will be right back. Okay, so we've got these ironed onto the back sides of our fabrics, and now we just have to cut a 1/4 inch seam allowance around each of the blocks. Alright, so we've got these all cut out now. So we are going to actually, I'm going to glue baste these ones down. The last time I did applique, I did the iron method where I actually put the freezer paper, which is what this is. I just put it on the other side and then I used my iron to attach the seam allowance to the freezer paper. This time I'm just going to glue baste. I'm going to go grab my glue stick, which I've got one just right here. And I'm going to start with the points. And I'm actually first, before I do that, let me trim these. Just because there's less bulk if we trim off the tips. Now my seam allowance on some of these is really small. As long as you have, I'm going to iron this back really quick because the paper's coming off. So I'm going to go do that over at my ironing board. Okay. So we are going to attach the tip here. Attach this tip, just like that. And then we're going to glue on to the paper as close to the edge we can get. We want to try not to put too much glue there, so that we're not sewing through the glue. Sometimes that causes problems. But we need enough glue that it will stick. Like that. We go on to the other side. We want to try and make sure we keep our points. We're not losing them. So we're going to get those in. I sometimes like to do those first and then work the fabric after, so that I know that I didn't lose my point. Once again, this is just a really cheap glue stick. It's the Craze Art glue stick, just cheap. You can get the specialty glues that are specifically made for glue basting. I have one of those. It's just not upstairs, it's downstairs with my other stuff because I have stuff everywhere. And I like to turn it around and I just kind of rub it a little bit onto the table. I know that sounds kind of silly, but it just kind of helps it stay in place, and then I sometimes like to go back and just iron. There's one down. I'm going to get the rest of these all glued in place, and then I will be right back. Okay, so we've got these all basted, and the next step is to go and get these guys sewn together, and then we can get them attached to here. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay it out in a 4-patch. So we've got them like that. So we'll lay these guys out in a 4-patch, and we're going to just sew them together. So I'm just going to put them on top of each other, just like that. I'll go get them sewn in a 4-patch, and then I will press them, and then I'll be back. Okay guys, so we got that sewn together. I got it pressed. I pressed the first seam that I did, I pressed it to the dark, and then the second seam, which was right down the middle of the two, I pressed that one open to help reduce the bulk in the center, because we're going to be adding fabric to that. So we want to make sure that that center stays not so bulky. So the next step is we're going to do our layout, and we're going to put one of the purples here, one here, and we do one of the whites and one of the white, just like that. So when we sew these in place, I'm not going to attach them all at the same time. I'm going to leave some of them off, and I'm only going to be working with one of them at a time. The thing I want to do is I want to make sure that I have at least 1/4 of an inch, or at least as close to 1/4 of an inch as I can get on this outside corner, so that when I attach my sashing, I don't go over my like little orange piece. I don't know what you call that. I think it's an orange piece. So I'm going to glue it in place so that that one stays where I want it to. And then I'm going to move you over to my press table, just because it's got a little bit easier viewing for you guys, so that you guys will be able to see me attach this to the background here. So we'll get you moved, and we'll get this piece sewn to the back. Okay, so we are over at my sewing table, and I have got some thread. This is technically I think it's an embroidery thread, and I have not yet opened this one yet because I haven't needed this color. But it's basically just some embroidery thread that matched my colors. So I just have to get my starting piece of thread, which I hate how these guys all start. I always like tuck it underneath. Okay, so I got that pulled off. I'm just gonna give me about an arm's length of this thread, and I'm gonna double up on it, because this is a thin thread. It's not like I don't think it's even, I think it might be a 50 weight. So it's really thin, and so I want to make sure that I have enough strength in the thread that when I sew it down, it's gonna actually hold. Okay, so I've got my thread pulled off here, and I'm going to tie it with a quilter's knot. I'm going to try and keep this in frame. So what I'm doing is I'm going to wrap it around, and then I'm going to pull it down the needle, and then it leaves me with a knot at the end. So I think you can see that knot. I'm hoping you can. It's just a little baby knot. That's all I need. So I've got that there. And then I'm going to put on my thimble. This is a clover, I believe it's a clover thimble. It's a coin thimble. I really like them. I've had to sew mine because it was a little bit like big on the end. So to keep it on, I've just basically put a couple stitches in it so that it stayed on my finger. And I'm going to start this in the center. I'm coming from behind the fabric with my needle, and I'm going to come up. And then I pull out my thread, And then for the first stitch, we're gonna go right back in the same place that we came out of, but we're gonna it's kind of like a jump stitch. We're gonna jump through the back and then come up from behind the fabric so that we're hiding our threads. So normally I use thread that's white. It's white thread or it's a beige thread. I don't ever use color thread. But with this, I need to use something that's going to be hidden so that you can't see it on the outside. And then we just keep going. We're going the same spot we came out of. Or with this, yeah, so the same spot we came out of, we're going down into that. We're jumping through the back of the fabric. And then we're coming up just on the edge of our piece of applique. It's just barely that outside edge. And then we just continue. So go to the back, skip, come through, back, skip, come through, so I'm going to get these sewn on just like this. This is how I'm going to do all of them very carefully. I'm hoping this is a better angle so that you guys can see what's happening. So let's see if I can turn it. So if I turn the side of the fabric, coming through the back, the same spot I came through, and then I just grab barely a couple threads and pull. Same spot, out. So I'm going to continue getting these stitched, and I will bring you back once I've completed all 4. Okay guys, so something I wanted to make sure that I show you is when I'm coming to put the next piece off, I'm making sure that every single time I'm coming through the very center of the point, so all of my points will merge right there in the middle. I wanted to make sure that I showed that on camera so you guys could see that that's something I am being very aware of, is to always come through the center. And then each piece, before I go further, I make sure that it's in the middle by pulling that tight, and then I will come over to this corner, making sure that I have my seam allowances on each side, and then I just lift it up, grab my glue so that I can glue this in place, and I just put a little bit in that corner, and then I just push it down on there. I had to make sure I got that on camera so you guys could see that. And then once I get to this point here, once I get up to this point, I'm going to show you what I do to make sure I keep my point as best as I can with my piece. Some of them, my points are a little bit lost, but that's okay. It's not a big deal, but I try and keep that point as nicely as possible. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get it stitched down all the way up to this corner, and then I'll show you what I do with that point. Okay, so I'm just about to the point, and I'm right here. I'm almost to the point, so I'm just going to do the next couple of stitches. I'm just going to go back where I came out of, slip behind, come out a little bit further away. It's about a quarter, not a quarter inch, but about 1/8 of an inch ish is what I'm trying to keep my stitches at. Okay, so I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to come out behind, right out of the tip, so that I'm making sure my point is there. So I come right out of the tip of the fabric of what I want to keep my point at, and then pull that there, and then I go back through the same place that I came out of. I basically go back through there, And then I do this stitch twice. So I go through my fabric, and then I stitch back through here, so that I make sure that I'm securing that point in place really well, because that's one thing I'm always worried about. Now I turn my work so that I'm always working up my side. Some people go down, some people go up. I prefer to go up. Oh, and I'm out of frame, sorry. So when I go on to the next one, I'm coming back through right there at the tip, and then I go just back through the hole, and then this, now I start back doing my slip back, I don't know what you call this stitch, applique stitch I guess is what it's actually called. So you just basically go through the back of the fabric, go through the same spot you came out of, come up about 1/8 of an inch away from that spot, that's it. Same stitch all the way around the whole piece. So we're just about finished with this one. I'm going to finish it up. I will press it a little bit, and then we were going to remove the papers. So that's the next step, is to get the papers pulled out of the back. So once I get this all done, I'll come back and show you how to do that. Alright, so I've got that all sewn down. I've pressed it just a little bit just so it lays a little nicer. We're going to turn it over to the back side, and you guys will be able to see those stitches that I've made. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut through our paper, or not our paper, our fabric on the back here to remove the papers. So we're basically, we're doing is we're going to punch through, not literally, but like, you know what I mean. We're going to go through the fabric with our scissors. You've got some sharp little ones, this is great, it feels like, but they're super sharp and they work really well. So we're just going to go through it. I'm going to cut about an 1/8, or not an 1/8, but a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance around all of this. And you've got a little bit of shadow, I apologize, from the sun is starting to set a little bit, so it's starting to get shadowy in the room. And there's a little bit of glue there that I can fill, so I'm going to lift it up, and I'm just going to cut the point off. So now we have to remove the paper. So to remove the paper, we're just going to pull it back and pull off the little bit of glue that we put on there. It should come off pretty easily because we used inexpensive glue. For some reason that stuff's great for quilting. And we're going to be super careful with our point here. We don't want to like pull too hard and distort the tip in that. I did that with my practice block, and that sucked. So just be careful. If you've sewn through your paper a little bit, that's okay. Just be careful when you're pulling it out. Do it very gently. Don't yank too hard, but give it a pretty firm pull. Just like that. Now we'll pull this back out, making sure our point's still in place, and we've removed the papers. So that's all you do, guys. You're just gonna go ahead, you're gonna cut the back off on all of these, and then give it a good press. Alright guys, so I have got that pressed. I've got all of the little back pieces removed out of there, and we are now on to the next block. We are getting pretty close to being done with the first row. So I made a mistake at the beginning of the video and said that this was A6. This is actually A7. So that was my bad, sorry. So A7 Dad's Plaid, and it is now complete, and we will be on to the next block, which that one is called, let me find out. So that one is called Florence Nightingale. That's the next block that we'll be doing together. That one will be a piece block, so that'll be fun. I'm kind of excited about that. I like piece blocks, they're fun to do. But I appreciate you guys watching. I hope that you are enjoying the series and that you will continue to keep watching me create this quilt. Please like and subscribe, that helps me out a lot. I'm up to 16 subscribers, so that's super awesome and exciting. Thanks everyone that has subscribed, and we will see you next time. Thanks again for watching, guys.